All right, this is a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah, so the song "Cake by the Ocean."
Cake by the ocean. Yeah.
Do you know that song's name came about by the band's Swedish producer misinterpreting "Sex on the Beach"?
Shut up.
Yeah. Yep. He was meaning to say something like "Sex on the Beach," but instead it came out "Eating Cake by the Ocean."
Wait, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's
Cake
true.
by the because it never made sense. It never made sense to me.
Talk to me. Yeah, I know. We're eating cake by the ocean. No, it's
Right.
sex on the beach.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, which sex on the beach. So, like, obviously we're going to get into it today and we're going to talk about it. It feels uncomfortable and like in the next section you're going to discover Jules is pretty uncomfortable with saying it, but she got comfortable with it.
Yeah.
It's the name of a drink, right? We're not talking about, we're not making a recommendation on what to go do. We're saying, hey, look, this is something you can make. It's a beverage. And I would feel foolish ordering it at a bar, especially if I was like, I don't know, with like people from work, you know?
Or your mom.
Or a mom, or my grandma,
Or my kids. Yeah.
God, especially my kids.
I don't know when you would order. Like, this is bachelorette trips.
Bachelorette trips. I tell you who did order it, though, was a lot of Floridians, right? Because they loved it. And so we'll get into the history behind this drink today, too. But also how to make it. And just a heads up, like, I'm not drinking today because I'm still brushing the dust off from the holiday season. Like, I know. It's just been a run,
I know.
It's just been a run. And so I just need another day or two or a week.
Yeah. Well, when we're recording this, it's dry January. And so I'm personally not drinking. However, I noticed, and that's okay, but I noticed last year there was a little fall off with my mocktail riffy-dos. So that being said, we're not going to do that this year. We're going to keep making cocktails, not mocktails, because if you want mocktails, you can go to my website. You can go on my Instagram. But for the podcast, we're going to keep it cocktails. But we are actually recording in January, so I'm not drinking. But when we record after January, you bet your ass I'll be drinking again.
I'm just taking a knee. I'm doing damp January. I'm just taking a knee. So good news is if you are looking for dry January recipes, like you can make this drink without the vodka and without the peach tree liqueur or the peach tree schnapps and just like use peach nectar if you wanted. And
it's a great
put those things
mocktail
together.
option
So
for sure.
it's
No matter what
really
time of year.
Mocktail.
Yeah. Because this is coming out in February.
Yeah, hey, this is here to help you in your Valentine's Day plans, right? So,
that's funny.
You want to make a little suggestion? Throw some cocktails together.
Tonight?
Like, what are we drinking tonight? Maybe not on the first date. You don't want to do that, but
Right.
That's
hilarious. I opted that this would be a funny one for Valentine's Day.
You did, yeah. You called it.
Yeah.
So.
I informed Brad of what that is. So
yeah.
We got a funny episode here today, folks. I'm just happy to be a part of it because I needed a good laugh today, so this was good.
Yeah, and then we've got a tip, right? Asked by the bar intern.
Oh. What did I say? Bar interim? The bar intern. The bar intern,
right?
Yeah.
And
they asked about brown butter syrup, how to make it and try to prevent it from solidifying, the fat and the sugar. So we get into that. But wait, Brad, before we get into making the cocktails, you mentioned you wanted to talk about a comment we got on our reviews.
Yeah. God. So, oh my God, thanks for reminding me, Jules. Like
I'm on it.
Through the
See, clear head.
Thank you. Yeah. Hey, Mo Fiends, that's MOFEENS, who left us a comment on 12/13/24, 5-star rating on the old Apple podcast and said, I love learning about all the drinks and history behind it. There have been so many interesting facts that I tell other people, so it's not boring history. Plus, the drinks are delicious. Thanks, Mo Fiends. And by the
Aw.
way, like we never talked about this from last March, but like another one said, I wish I had an Uncle Brad, and that's power lifter to be. And let me just say,
Wow.
I could be your uncle any day, pal.
Hey, you're everybody's favorite uncle. Okay, you are.
That's a lot.
Anyway, enough of that. I think we should get to the fun part.
Let's get to making the drinks, or talking about making them. So,
Okay.
like I was saying, I'm not actually making this one today because
Right.
I need a break. I just need a break.
Need a break? Yeah, no, definitely warranted. But we're going to talk to it. And I mean, I love that this one is such a recognizable name. Like, it's in your face. It's like, wow, I know. But you know what's funny? And kind of like what we said at the beginning, I forget what's in this cocktail every time, but I know this cocktail. Like, if you were to tell me this name, I wouldn't be like, what is that? I'd be like, oh, I know exactly what that is. However, every time I forget the ingredients.
So, does saying sex on the beach, does that make you feel uncomfortable? It's like, I feel like you're avoiding saying the cocktail's name, right?
No. Oh, well, no, I just didn't know. Could we say that on the podcast? Were we going to try
Sex
to?
on the
I don't
beach?
know.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Well, here's the deal. You tell me sex on the beach. I say probably not. And I forget the ingredients. But I think that that's a bad take on this cocktail.
I would have to say I made it
Yeah.
and was pleasantly surprised
Yeah. Yeah.
as to how good it really is. And the nice thing about it is that it's not really high ABV. It's like got an ounce of vodka
Right.
and an ounce of peach
Well,
tree.
yours does. Yeah,
Schnapps.
sure. Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, yours yours is a little bit more heavy hitting, but
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Let's tell you how to make it. So I just said I'm not making it today, but I'm going to tell you how to make it, listeners, so you can make it. And this is just, I mean, you could turn this into shots if you wanted to, or
Hey,
drink it
now.
on its own. Honestly, it's so simple and easy
Mm-hmm.
to make. And like, this is not only a great drink for Valentine's Day, haha, but it's you could slam these all summer long. This
Totally.
is a good one. Okay, so here's what you're gonna do. Now, if you really want to make this thing sing, you're gonna want to use fresh orange juice, and I highly, highly, highly recommend. So get yourself a Collins glass. Okay, that's the bigger of the two talls. And you are going to also grab an orange or two or three, and you're going to want some cherries for garnishing because, you know, if you're going to make this thing cheesy, you definitely got to have the cherry taco in there. with the
taco.
cherry.
I
You
knew
gotta
it.
get the
I
cherry
knew it.
taco. A little cherry hugged on either side. by
What
the end.
cocktail did we do that first for? What was that one?
That was the very first cocktail we ever did, the old fashioned. The Wisconsin
Really?
old fashioned.
Oh my God. that's
Which I
great.
was making those over the weekend, which is probably why I'm a little bit like, I just can't make this today. Oh my God. I went back and
I
revisited
need to
that
bring
drink.
those
It was,
back.
it was so good, Jules.
Okay.
It's so good.
Yeah.
All right. So you got your garnishes. Now what you're going to do is you're going to juice your oranges. You want 3 ounces
Mm-hmm.
of freshly squeezed orange juice. We are in citrus season right now.
So
for
you're
sure.
saying navel. That's your go-to,
Yeah,
navel,
navel
orange.
orange.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
So get your navel oranges, and you're going to juice that, and then you're going to create 3 ounces of juice, and then you're going to take cranberry juice, and I just got the Ocean Spray cranberry juice cocktail. All right, you don't have to go get freshly sourced cranberries from Wisconsin, and
Right.
squeeze them in between your fingers for the juice. Don't do that. Go get
Okay.
Ocean
Okay.
Spray cranberry juice cocktail.
Sure. Yeah.
Then you're going to do 3 ounces of the cranberry juice cocktail, and then it's 1 ounce of peach liqueur, or schnapps, and 1 ounce of vodka of your choice. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing about vodka. You don't have to go get the Kettle One, right? Like, you can do something middle of the road. You can't taste it anyways, okay?
Right.
So this is why the drink is so easy. You make it in the glass, which sounds crazy
great.
because it's got citrus in it. So should I be shaking it? And I will tell you, when I read through the recipes and tried them all, not all of them, but most of them, when I stirred it in the glass, it just tasted the best. I don't know, for whatever reason. It's like, well, I can tell you why, actually. When I shook it, it seemed to mute the flavors a little bit. Like I got too much
Interesting.
dilution there.
Okay.
So I would say stir it in the glass. It just tasted delicious to me that way.
Yep.
And saves you a little time, so you can build it right in the glass. And that's it. Like, you just stir it around for a little bit until everything's incorporated in the glass, and you enjoy. And it is like this weirdly awesome flavor that you can just be like, all right, like I dig it. You get the peach and like you don't even know cranberry juice is in there. It's just like it's just this really crushable flavor that looks cool in a glass, and it's like this is cheese ball heaven right here. But I am like loving this drink. Totally.
Well, and so the riff on this would be the tequila sunrise. Technically, you omit the peach liqueur and you use grenadine instead of cranberry juice, right?
Yeah. And you can do like the woo woo, which is a riff on this, and just take out the orange juice, and so you've got peach, cranberry, and vodka.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I could see this being good using fresh ingredients. I mean, I would go so far as finding a nice peach liqueur because I don't know about you, Brad, but for some reason, maybe it's because I've had bad peach liqueurs, but there's a taste there that I just don't.
Intense.
It's intense. And I usually have to scale it back a little bit because it's like overbearing sometimes.
So, yeah, I mean, we talked about this in the grasshopper. Like, I didn't like grasshoppers because the creme de menthe was just like, ugh, it's so strong. But it works in this. Yeah, so if you're going to do shots of peach liqueur, like, I wouldn't recommend it. That's gross. But although back in the 80s, they seemed to love it.
Well.
So, you know.
I feel like the values of quality were a lot lower at that point. Where now we you know what? I'll tip my hat off to our generation. We got a sophisticated palate now.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk on this. We'll talk about it too in the history part. So that's a Sex on the Beach. Super easy. Build it in the glass. 3-3-1-1.
Oh, that's easy to remember.
And you're done.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add too, and we'll talk about it in my recipe. But one of the brands I do like, don't love. That's just me. Brad, please correct me. Is it Giffard?
Oh yeah, is it Gifford?
Gifford.
Gifford. It's really just jazzing it up. Giffard.
Well, I think it's French.
That's we Giffard.
Giffard apricot.
It probably is. It's probably
Roussillon.
Yeah.
That's
I took
great.
French in high school, so I can't even.
You know, I'm learning
pretend.
French now, right?
Are you really?
Babel. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you probably should. You're gonna get married there.
Yeah, exactly.
I used just De Kuipers, and that's Peachtree Schnapps. That was pretty easy. And I think it's flavored actually with real peaches, but it's an intense flavor.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, so here's my recipe. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's called Where's the Beach?
I like it.
And we're flipping it on its head a bit. What you're going to do is, unlike Brad, we are actually going to shake this up. However, you noting that, I never really, because, there's citrus. So maybe try it Brad's way of just building it in the glass and stirring it together. But I saw the ingredients and I wanted to shake it. I don't know if that's just,
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Please.
I think it's because if you were just to stir like a lemon juice or a lime juice, I think that like you need the shaking. Like you want you need that to be aerated. I don't know, like the orange juice, because you could just rip orange juice on its own, right? Like it's delicious, freshly squeezed on its own.
Right.
So maybe it doesn't need that extra aeration to make it more palatable. That's
right.
That's a theory.
So interesting. So keep that in mind when you want to make this riffy-do. You can do it one way or the other or both. But essentially, the way I did it was I took my cocktail shaker and I added, actually, let me backtrack here because I did some things. I don't know if it's this time of year or what, but with citrus right now, I'm loving charring citrus on the stovetop. I put it on my cast iron. And so what I did ahead of time is I cut my oranges in half. Now you can do regular orange juice. You could zhuzh it with like blood orange juice or even the cara cara oranges. Like you can have fun with mine with the oranges. I would say if you want to skew a little bit more citrus forward, I think the cara cara are the more tart of the three that I just listed, I would say.
I think the cara cara, isn't that one like you can eat the peel of the cara cara?
You're thinking, I don't think so. You're thinking of
you candy I'm almost positive you can candy the peel of the cara cara and
really?
like eat the peel of that orange. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, all right. Now we have more homework. I'm going to try that.
Sorry. Your dad actually taught me that.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. So what we're going to do is char our oranges, cut them in half, and then just put them face side down on like a medium high heat on the cast iron. It took me about 8 to 10 minutes, I would say, to get a really nice char. And then what I did from there, once they were charred and they're caramelized and they look so good, is I took them off. I let them cool for a little bit. I didn't want them super hot, and I juiced them there. So it kind of added this extra caramelized layer of flavor. So that's what I did for my orange juice. And then the other thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make a cinnamon simple syrup. Now, again, this is super easy. You're just using cinnamon sticks, equal parts water and sugar. The other thing I've done is if you just have regular simple syrup, you can throw 1 or 2 cinnamon sticks in a already made syrup and just kind of let that infuse for like a day or two. And that actually works. It's not a quick hack, but it's a hack, I guess. So those are the 2 ahead of time things you're going to need. So here's how you're going to make your cocktail. You're going to grab your cocktail shaker and you're going to add 1 ounce of white rum, a half ounce of mezcal, because we can. Now I'm going to do 3/4 of an ounce of the peach liqueur. You can do the full ounce like Brad. I just don't personally love that flavor and I don't want that to overpower for my taste buds. So that's why I started with 3/4. I then, like Brad, 3 ounces of our charred orange juice. Then I did 2 ounces of unsweetened cranberry juice because I like to control my sweetness, which is why I added in a half ounce of that cinnamon syrup. I also wanted to control my sweetness because with the mezcal and the rum, if I'm adding in sweet, I kind of want to spice it up a bit, no pun intended, with something that feels in line with those spirits, which I felt like cinnamon was super in line with those spirits. So that's why I did the unsweetened and added my own sugar in that way. Or you can just use the ocean spray because it has that sugar element that you need for a cocktail.
Nice.
So all that, cocktail shaker, add ice. You got your Boston 2818 tin. Shake it. Then you're going to double strain into a Collins glass. I did it because it felt a little tiki. I did it with crushed ice. I just thought it looked great because I garnished with a cherry on top, fresh mint, and an umbrella. Because if we're going to do it, let's
like
just
an
freaking
umbrella
do it.
in their
Who doesn't
drink?
like an
come on.
umbrella?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Fun.
I know.
All right, take me
So
away.
that's where's the beach, baby. Because if you have 3 of these, it's gone. You're
love
not
it.
finding it.
I just feel like, where's my car?
Yeah.
Although that's not what I want to say. Like,
Where's
don't
my
get in your car
Uber?
and drive. But I'm like, like, where's my home?
I can't find my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
we do not
there you
endorse
go.
drinking and driving here, and
No,
that's
no.
the truth. But,
No.
yeah, hopefully you picked up the spirit of what I was saying and didn't take it too seriously. Okay, so moving on to the history.
Yeah,
then?
let's just move on.
All right, move on to history. Here we go.
I have a theory.
What's your theory?
Somebody made up this cocktail at a bar on the beach, looked outside, saw people having sex on the beach, and he said, you know what this should be called? Sex on the beach. That's my guess. 100% guess. I haven't looked up the history on this cocktail at all, but if you were to ask me, that's my answer. That's my fun guess.
There you go. Nailed it.
Okay, boom, next section.
Yep, it's over. All right, let's move on to tips. Okay.
Perfect.
Not quite, Jules.
Yeah,
Not quite.
I had a feeling.
So I was telling you before we started recording, I searched and searched. And this is one of those where I'm like, wow, the history on this it was conflicting for a bit. And then it just like, I'm like, this is like, where is this going? So finally get a hold of a couple of articles that like, now I've got like quotes from people and stuff. I'm like, okay, this feels like this is actually like we got to the truth, because there were arguments over was the drink invented in 1987? It couldn't have been, invented then because it was in this book, this American cocktail, this American Bartender's Guidebook from 1982, but the book was really written in 81, and no one had an example of where the actual book was cited. I couldn't get my hands on the book.
Interesting.
I know it's been a very interesting journey trying to get to the bottom of the sex on the beach. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the deal. We typically, and we were doing it in the last section, like you kind of poo-poo the 80s because it's just like you don't, like you and I, like we're cocktailers, we're craft cocktailers, we're connoisseurs, we're enthusiasts, like We make them. We use good ingredients.
Yeah,
right?
get that fake stuff out of here. I
Right.
don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah, like the 80s, like we were still using
actually,
juice from a can. And
I will say, the one thing that they did do that I almost brought back this year for Christmas, which I'm so kind of bummed I didn't. It was a missed opportunity. I'll do it this year. They did have the Jell-O like cake salads things. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was before the 80s, my dear.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well then never mind. 80s, you suck. Whatever. That,
Hey, hold
that's
on.
what I'm
I will also tell you, like, I grew up in the 80s, and it was the most awesome time of my life. I mean, the 80s were freaking cool, right? Like,
do you think it's because,
MTV
like, people found pot, and so they were like,
Dude,
I don't even really care anymore.
People were smoking pot way before the 80s.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God. Totally.
It's
like
just so long ago, you know.
Oh, Jules. No, man.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, it's just like God, that's funny. Like where they just smoke a pot. Like there's a lot going on.
You know, there was just like not a lot of care like in the world for like, whatever, it's fine.
I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't want to get too deep on the 80s, but like it's just like it was just an awesome time. Like MTV came to be, and that's actually when they had music on MTV, and you could watch music videos. Like that was like video games were like a thing. Like, dude, I grew up with video games. Like, and people like look at me like, dude, you're in your 50s, you still play video games? Like, yeah, I grew up on them. And by the way, I'll kick your ass in any game you want to play.
Yeah, so, don't catch him on live.
Yeah, seriously. All right. So here we are. We're talking about the 80s.
Yeah.
We were drinking like, drinks that were like just like we feel like we weren't that great, right? Because stuff was coming out of a gun. If it was like a sour mix coming out of a gun at a bar, and like not a lot of fresh fruits and stuff incorporated in drinks, unless it was like a pineapple and a cherry in a cocktail. And then like even like whiskey and stuff that was all really kind of tamed down and blended down in the decades before, because for whatever reason we lost like our love for a fine cocktail. And so the 80s kind of gets balled into this. However, like a new era of cocktails really kind of starts to begin in the 80s. And a key player in this era is this guy who loves his peach trees in Florida. And it's the early 80s. And this guy's name is Earl LaRoe. And he was a flavor scientist for National Distillers. And this was a wine and spirits company that was like facing some serious challenges, because the way we drank in the early 80s was starting to change. Like we were moving away from alcohol, largely due to like the drinking and driving movements and stuff. So we're really kind of starting to become anti-alcohol. So we want, and it's kind of starting to happen here too. Like with people are like, I'm trying to do low ABV and whatnot. So this company says we need to come out with something that's lower in alcohol, but like still approachable for folks, right? So they put this guy on it. Like he loves peaches, and is inspired one day by the fact that, okay, I've got these peach trees, like let's make a peach liqueur.
Yeah, I mean,
and so he invents peach tree liqueur, which was released in 1984.
But see, you know what's funny about that? I too love peaches. Like I love them, but I don't love peach liqueur.
Yeah, so I don't love artificial peach flavor, and they say that peach tree by De Kuyper is like it's got natural flavors in there, but it's pretty intense. I don't even really love peaches, right? But for whatever reason, this drink is all right with me. So
yeah, okay,
I hear you. And that peach liqueur, which by the way, peach liqueur was invented far before. Right.
He didn't invent this wheel.
Yeah, he didn't invent peach liqueur, but he did come out with his peach tree schnapps, and this was like, oh my God, this is so delicious.
Sure. Yeah.
So, all right, so he invents this, and he gives it to the executives at this National Distillers, and they're like, whoa, we got a thing here, right? Like, and so this one executive, right, calls his buddy, who is ex-Marine, owns a bar that does like high volume in New Jersey. And he likes to run stuff by this guy because it's a popular bar. And if like this guy can make things work at his bar, it's going to work everywhere in the country. So he calls him in, gives it to him and says, hey, check this out, see what you can do with this, play around with it. And so he does. He goes and plays around with it for a bit, comes back, and this executive's desks, he mixes the peach tree schnapps with orange juice. And the exec was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And he's like, it's so good. It's like, he's like, I can smell the fuzz on the peach. And the bartender says, that's the name. We're going to call this drink the Fuzzy Navel. So this guy is Ray Foley. So we're talking about sex on the beach, but we got to start with the Fuzzy Navel. What's in the Fuzzy Navel,
What a
Jules?
funny name.
I know.
Navel oranges and
Orange
peach
juice
liqueur.
and peach liqueur. And that's it. That's all that's
Wow.
in a Fuzzy Navel. Okay. So we've got the Fuzzy Navel. Okay. So National Distillers like mobilizes its sales force and it gives them suitcases filled with Peachtree schnapps and orange juice, and they like send them out into the world, right, all across the United States. And the reps are starting to kind of spread the word. And so they're inviting these bartenders and patrons at the bar to try this. It becomes like an instant success, and the Fuzzy Navel propels De Kuyper's Peachtree Schnapps into like the 9th best selling alcohol in America, selling over 12 million bottles its first year. So this was the fastest selling new alcohol product since Prohibition.
Wow, that's huge. That's huge.
So in 87, right, this drink is like resonating really well with young consumers. So the Chicago Tribune's attributing the popularity of the Fuzzy Navel to like the flavor generation of the baby boomers who preferred sweeter things, because they grew up on like sugared cereals and whatnot, and they want these sweeter, lower alcohol beverages. And it also didn't hurt that it was like $5 a bottle, right? And so like we're talking about your dad who's like loving on the Fuzzy Navel, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
not me. I'm
hilarious.
not a baby boomer, so you can't say okay boomer to me.
Right.
So later that year, the Fuzzy Navel is declared America's most popular drink.
No way.
And the second most popular drink was the Long Island iced tea.
Wow. Crazy back then. Jesus.
So there's a shift that starts to happen because of the Fuzzy Navel. And this is in the way that we start to kind of name drinks. So this Fuzzy Navel is kind of a bit of a playful, sexualized name for a drink, And so bartenders start to see like, oh, you know what? The drink's name can actually be the marketing ploy. And so they start to come out with like other drink names that kind of signify that it's like sweet, simple, and, really kind of catering to this generation that wanted kind of like the fun without the need for like deep contemplation about what the drink meant.
Sure.
And so you got the Fuzzy Navel, and then you had the Hairy Navel, which is, vodka instead of vodka with the peach schnapps and the orange juice. You've got the Silk Panties, which is vodka and just peach schnapps. You've got, other drinks that are starting to kind of spin out, right? Like the Screaming Orgasm and stuff. And this introduced these bartenders like, okay, all right, these sexual names seem to kind of hit for folks, right? And so
People probably think they're hilarious to order.
Totally.
Yeah,
And so
that's
like,
so funny.
Bartender Magazine named Silk Panties Drink of the Year, and it's just really starting to get out of hand. You've got the Slippery Nipple, you've got the Slow Comfortable Screw against the wall, you've got the Redheaded Slut, the Screaming Orgasm, and all these drinks are starting to just kind of spin out of this like era where people are like,
This
oh my
era
God.
needs to calm down.
I know, totally. Well, here's what's going on. Like we've got MTV, which is happening, right? And we've got
Right.
Madonna and like all these different like kind of sexualized like
Totally. Yeah.
pop stars and stuff. So like
I
sex
think
is
they're trying
really
that era was like, it's learning how, it's like a teenager. It's like, where's the limit? Let's push the boundary till we can find that limit,
kind of, yeah. Like it really, you're really right. Like it's just like, it's like we're like in junior high,
Yeah.
like just like getting our
Yeah.
hormones or something. So we're like
Totally.
out of control, right? With the naming conventions.
So funny.
All right. So in 87, National Distributing launches this spring break contest in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And the contest was for whatever bartender could sell the most peach schnapps, they would win a $100 prize. Now, this is 87, so $100
Sure.
is
100
meaningful,
Yeah.
right?
It went a long way.
It went a long way. Yeah. It doesn't just buy you eggs and oranges, right? So.
No.
Oh God, don't get me going. So anyway, so Ted Pizzio is this bartender, and he works at Confetti's Bar in Fort Lauderdale.
Is it
And he
still open
takes-
today?
No, not anymore. But it's funny because it's like there's actually a page dedicated to like the old school like bars. Oh yeah, like people like are loving on confettis because confetti would actually fall from the ceiling, like it was like his dance
Shut
club
up.
and like oh yeah, totally. Yep.
Oh my God.
Totally.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh yeah, just the '80s the club scene.
Damn.
I was too young to go to the clubs in the '80s, but like,
Right.
it's just like I don't know. I can imagine it was just a lot of neon and a lot of Aquanet and
Oh my God,
members
that's
only
amazing.
jackets.
Now, honestly, that sounds really fun.
Oh, I would love to take a go back in time and just be in my 20s in the 80s. I think that would just be so much fun. Although I think there's like a lot of cocaine. That's the thing people loved in the 80s was cocaine.
Right. More than pot. Yeah. So they were over
pot was like
yeah.
passe. Cocaine was where
Yeah,
it was
that's why
at.
people were just like not caring. They're like, I'm partying. Yeah.
Well, it's where like I don't know if you remember the commercial, like this is your brain on drugs, and they'd like smash it in the pan. Like, any questions? Oh my God.
Yeah,
Totally.
that's
That was like when the
hilarious.
Just Say No to Drugs and all that with Nancy Reagan.
Right.
All right. So he takes the Fuzzy Navel. Ted takes the Fuzzy Navel, and then he takes the Cape Codder. I wonder, do you know what a Cape Codder is?
Well, yes. I know it's with cranberry juice and vodka.
Bingo. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
So when people are like, I'll take a vodka cran, I'm like, it's a cran. It's a freaking Cape Codder. I mean, I get it. It's probably easier to say vodka cran. You probably don't feel so silly saying Cape Codder, but you could say Cape Codder. That's
it's
the
a
name of the
Cape
drink.
Codder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I want a screwdriver. Vodka and orange just be like, I'll take a vodka orange. Fucking give me a screwdriver. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't be lame.
Cape Codder, Fuzzy Navel,
Had a
put them
baby.
together. What do you got? You got this
had-
amazing tasting drink. And he's like, he names it after the two things people seem to love to come to Florida for at that time, besides Disney. And that was sex and that was the
And the
beach.
beach.
And so he called it Sex on the Beach, taking cue from all the other naughty little names.
That's
you know,
great. That's great.
that came up before it. And this drink now is like hot commodity. Like people are loving this drink. It's going all over the country. People are going back home and they're
Hilarious.
ordering them and they want to tell other people how to make them. So like this drink just goes nuts and it moves around the country and it's like people start to take liberties with its recipe. And so like you'll see variants of this drink that have pineapple juice in it or Chambord or Midori or even cream up here in the Midwest, because that's probably a Wisconsin thing. They're like, oh yeah, throw some cream in there. Who knows?
course. Yeah.
Right. So this thing has all these different variations. TGI Fridays
Oh boy.
gets a hold of it, which TGI Fridays then was like
The place.
shit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You couldn't it was hard to get a job as a
Well, I think
bartender at
in
TGI
some like
Fridays.
rom-com movies, like late 90s, early 2000s, they would even make comment of like after work meetings would be at TGI Fridays. Like people love TGI Fridays in those movies. I don't know why that stuck with me, but it did.
Well, it's funny. One of my memories I have, like core memory for whatever reason from when I was a kid, is when we went to TGI Fridays and I had mozzarella sticks. It was the first time I ever had something like that. It was like my mind was blown and it was like so much fun inside of Fridays. It was like just like what is
And
this
I love
crazy
how
place?
I love how you said that. You didn't even go with the TGI. You just called it Fridays.
Yeah,
See?
just to go to Fridays, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right
So
on.
Fridays gets a hold of it. They get it on the menu, and it's still on their menu today. It's just called the Ditty on the Beach, as opposed
Sure,
to
you
Sex
have
on the
to
Beach.
be, yeah. Have to
And
be
so
careful.
this drink takes off, and then the drink ends up in the movie Cocktail, which is like the movie that movie came out in 1988. So this drink quickly went from like conception to like viral
Big time, yeah.
sensation. And it's funny because I felt uncomfortable, like even talking about this at first when we were like Sex on the Beach. It's just such a. I can see why maybe people don't order them now because you feel kind of like douchey saying it, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, could I have a Sex on the Beach?
Right.
Well,
yeah, I also think too, like for me, it's vodka. I'm like,
yeah, I know. We give vodka a hard time here, just because it's just like I don't know, like it's vodka, right?
But that being said, great brunch cocktail. Perfect brunch cocktail.
The Sex on the Beach,
Yes.
100%.
So there's a time and a place for sure. But to order it, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
you're out at a family brunch. You want to get a little boozy drink. You know, your whole family hears you order. You can have sex on the beach. You know what I mean? It's a little
Nana
awkward.
goes, what?
Yeah. And then she goes, well, I'll have what he's having. Now you're uncomfortable.
Although if Nana was hip in the 80s, she may be like, oh, yeah.
I remember that.
I'll take a slippery nipple.
Oh, good times. Good times.
Yeah. So this drink was just like the drink of the 80s,
yeah.
along with all other drinks. But this was probably one of the most iconic.
Yeah.
And, you know, after a while, like we started to kind of calm down and grow up a little bit with the naming convention of drinks.
A little mature. Yeah.
I think the blowjob shot was maybe like invented like somewhere in the 90s.
Those are still going
90s.
strong. Can I tell you about that?
Thank you, bachelorette parties, right? Like
Well,
that's the
right.
only reason why they're still going strong.
Brad, get this. We're in Rome. We're in Italy. We're in Rome. And we're in between our speakeasy appointment and dinner. And so a big group of Luciana's wedding party, we go to an Irish pub. Naturally, let's go get a Guinness. Let's go get a Guinness. So we're there. We're just drinking some beer and just hanging out. All of a sudden, this troop of just women come in. And I want to say they were younger than me, like early 20s. They go in, round of blowjob shots. In Rome. At an Irish pub. I was like, how is this even and I just was in awe at that point of like, what is going on? Why are we here? Are we in Rome? Did I just enter the Twilight Zone? Hilarious. Like just so random. So they're alive and well, very much so.
Yeah, and they are alive and well. And anytime you see a bachelorette party roll through, it's just like,
yeah, just have the whipped cream ready. You know,
yeah, you know those are going to be ordered. Oh. So the 80s really kind of gave us the hypersexualization of all these different drink names. We kind of calmed down a bit, and I think that like when the cocktail revolution came about in the late 90s, early 2000s, we were probably just like done with our shame spiral and just be like, man, I just gotta go back to the basics. Like, how do we even get here? Like, what happened? What just happened right there? That was like weird, you know. Like, we're over the awkward conversation part now. Now we just talk about like, what the hell what was that?
Right? What were we thinking? Were we okay? No.
No, like, are we all right now? Yeah, but let's just be better.
So?
Let's just do better.
Right. Yeah.
So here we are, right? 24, 25 years later, which is that's amazing for me to say that 25 years ago, right? Like we started the craft cocktail movement. Not you and I started it, but it's like, I mean, I was right there when that happened, and I didn't even. It happened under my feet. I didn't even know what was going on, but all of a sudden it's just like, oh wow, drinks seem to be getting better. Right. And they're not like neon colored and like weird, stupid names, which I seriously would never order a sex on the beach at a bar. But now that you know how to make one, you should make them at home.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily order this out at a bar, but this is such a fun one to make at home for brunch. You can mix it around with like the riffy-dos or switch to citrus. I mean, it's super simple, and I feel like you can
don't order it when you're out. Make it at home.
Yeah, this is This
is private time. This is
for you.
What you do in your home. Yeah. That's your business. You know?
I will say, if you're having a Galentine's brunch, this would be a great thing to order.
I say gallon.
Shut up. Do you not know what that is?
Galentine's? What's that?
What?
I don't know. What is it?
It's February 13th. It's the day before Valentine's Day. It's where you and all your girlfriends go and celebrate each other's love.
Oh, that. Yeah,
Yes.
because I do that a lot with all my girlfriends. What are you talking about? Of course I don't know what that is.
It's almost like a national holiday. Everybody knows what Galentine's is.
Maybe for you and your generation. I've never heard of that before.
You know what? Yeah, my generation didn't have the 80s. So maybe that's why we got our head on a swivel a little bit more.
All right, well... Now I know what Galentine's is, and next time I'm out, it's like, wow,
this would
what are all these ladies doing out here eating
perfect
brunch?
order. This would be the perfect order. Come on, a little silly, a little cheeky, a little fun, a little good tasting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Make sure Nana's not at the table.
Right. Yeah, make sure your moms aren't there. Yeah, just gals only. Gals only. Yeah.
All right, Jules. Well, that's the fun little
That's the
story
fun
of
bucket.
the SOB.
Uncle Brad. Question time from actually a listener who has asked a couple of questions before. So I'm really excited to be answering their questions because I have done this before and I'm excited to share my knowledge. At the bar intern asked, I know, so good. They asked how to make brown butter syrups. They also left a comment that what's been happening is that their butter, the fat will solidify within their syrup.
Okay.
So they asked, how do I prevent that from happening? How do I make this brown butter syrup? Totally understand that the brown butter syrup can be a little bit tricky as the butter is a fat and the fat does turn into a solid. So when you put it in the fridge or something, it would solidify. I get that. But what I've found is this way of making it. I will add, there is a trick, and that is to add xanthan gum to stabilize the syrup. You only need about a quarter teaspoon. But I would rather just reheat it than go. I don't know. Maybe that's just lazy. Maybe that is lazy. I don't know why I have this thing against xanthan gum, but I'm like such a.
Because you probably don't want to add an additive in. I get it.
Yeah, I'm like.
I don't know anything about xanthan gum.
I don't really either, but I know people use it all the time.
Yes. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah.
Well, while you talk, I'll look.
Okay, so here is a recipe for how I make my brown butter syrup. Now, what I have found, and maybe this is what you're doing, you don't want to make the brown butter and then add it to your syrup. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab your pot and you're going to grab a half stick of unsalted butter, about 4 tablespoons. You're going to heat that in your saucepan on medium heat. You're going to stir until it melts, and eventually you'll notice it'll start to turn that golden brown. Most importantly, you'll be able to smell that nutty aroma. But once it's there, you're going to want to take it off the heat because you don't want that butter to burn. I've definitely done that and it's ruined it was like so.
And it goes quick.
Woof. Yeah.
Goes quick. Yep.
Yeah. So just keep an eye on it. Make sure you're right there. Don't like go and do something else and then come back to it. So once you have that brown butter, what you're going to want to do right in that same pot is you're going to add in a cup of sugar. Now, what you're going to do here is you're going to put this in the brown butter and you're going to stir until that sugar almost dissolves with that butter. It just becomes one. Then from there, you're going to slowly pour in the water, stirring, occasionally, right? Just keep stirring that in. And this will combine them, but you might see, some fat oils and the liquid. Just kind of keep stirring those to get those all combined. Now, this is where, if you wanted to, you can stabilize the sugar with the xanthan gum. You do about a quarter teaspoon. You can add that in. What I've done actually in the past is I have blended the mixture with an immersion blender, or you can add it to your blender and just kind of blend that all up to make sure that it's like fully incorporated. But then from there, I actually do strain the brown butter syrup through a fine mesh strainer. I don't use a cheesecloth. You can. I know people do that sometimes.
It does the same thing.
It does the same thing. Use a fine mesh strainer. And then store for about 2 to 3 weeks. I do find that this goes a little bit faster than like my normal 2 to 4. So I like to use it, between that 2. I mean, you should use it right away, but 2 to 3 weeks usually in the fridge. And then if it does seem to become thick or you feel like the fat is still not where you want it when you want to use it, since you stored it in the fridge, you can always just reheat that back up, kind of the same process. I do that sometimes when I use monk fruit. The monk fruit will crystallize. So I just kind of reheat that to create that like liquid texture. And then you can use it once it cools. So Brad, any comments, notes?
Well, here's what I can tell you. So it is considered safe, right? It may cause some digestive problems for some, but most of us, it's considered safe. Typical person consumes less than 1 gram of xanthan gum per day. It's in a lot of different things, but amounts to 20 times over that are still proven to be safe. Now, This is not me saying this is what you should do. This is just me saying what this article is telling me.
Yeah.
But apparently this is found in salad dressings. It's also found in wallpaper paste. So, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? But I'm sure, hey, honey's sticky, right?
You know what?
Just because it's in both doesn't mean,
Right.
You know.
It's a quarter
So-
teaspoon. It's like a little pinch, you know?
Yeah. So weigh that out. If you feel like that's 20 grams, maybe you're like, maybe I'm approaching the limits of what we know is healthy. Now I'm venturing into waters uncharted. So
I think people use xanthan gum to make like really good blended cocktails I've seen.
it's a thickening agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
All right. Cool. Well, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Sex on the
ya.
beach.
Sex on the beach. Not recommended.
Don't
All right.
do it.
Don't do it.
But drink it at home.
That's right. That's right. Don't go ordering that when you're out with the boss.
Yeah.